11 terrifying archaeological discoveries in China that even top scientists still can't explain. Hello, and welcome to the Ancient History Channel. Have you ever wondered if history still holds secrets that we haven't been able to explain? In China, a country with a civilization spanning thousands of years, archaeologists continue to uncover discoveries that astonish the world. And even today, not even top experts can fully explain them. Imagine standing before an ancient tomb, where the mummified remains of a bride who was only 5 years old lie undisturbed for over 1,700 years. It's a scene both heartbreaking and thought-provoking. What could have happened to this child? And it doesn't stop there. Among treacherous cliffs, archaeologists have discovered hanging coffins over 1,200 years old, suspended in midair as if defying all laws of gravity and time. Can you even imagine the feeling of standing before such a breathtaking yet eerie sight? Then, the next treasure leaves you even more amazed. Gleaming gold beside the perfectly preserved remains of a powerful woman from the Ming Dynasty, revealing not only wealth and authority, but also secrets of the past yet to be told. Each discovery, from the child bride mummy to the hanging coffins and golden treasure, is like a piece of a story waiting to be put together, helping us understand humanity, culture, and the mysteries time has forgotten. Today, we'll embark on a journey through 11 shocking archaeological discoveries in China, where every artifact is not only evidence of history, but also a doorway into a mysterious and fascinating past, one that will leave you both thrilled and endlessly curious. If you think history is all dry numbers and dates, prepare to be captivated, because what you're about to see will make you look at the past in an entirely new light. Now, let's begin with our first discovery. A 2,000-year-old letter to the king of the underworld, found in an ancient tomb. On the ancient lands of Jinan, the capital of the state of Chu during the Eastern Zhou period, today northern Xinjiang in Hubei province, China, stories of nobles, princes, and the mysteries of ancient tombs have long fascinated archaeologists and history enthusiasts alike. This area was considered a feng shui sanctuary, the final resting place of many powerful figures of the Qin and Han dynasties. As a result, the site has been carefully protected since the 1950s, and formal excavations did not begin until 1973. From the moment excavations began, one discovery stunned researchers. Tomb number 168, dating to the Western Han dynasty. Upon opening, archaeologists were astonished to find the body nearly perfectly preserved, from internal organs to skin, still elastic. It was almost miraculous, a testament to the incredibly sophisticated embalming techniques developed over 2,000 years ago. What excited the excavation team even more were the burial artifacts, especially a bamboo slip placed right next to the deceased. Scholars immediately restored and deciphered the inscriptions, understanding that anything placed beside the deceased would hold enormous significance. The result, however, brought a smile to everyone's face. It was a letter addressed to Yama, the king of the underworld, a sort of request written by the tomb owner as he crossed into the afterlife. At the top of the letter, it reads, 5th month of the 13th year of the Gengchen cycle, the official in Zhongling reports respectfully to the official under the Yellow River in the underworld, meaning he was formally addressing Yama in the underworld. He then lists everything he brought along: guards, maidservants, and countless burial treasures, hoping to secure some measure of respect in the afterlife. The final line of the letter was particularly amusing. If I could be given the position of official, that would suffice. In other words, even in death, he sought power, a literal case of ambition unto death. After careful examination, archaeologists identified the tomb owner as Mr. Sui, who held the position of Wudafu, a mid-level noble official during the Western Han dynasty. While alive, he clearly enjoyed wealth and luxury, owning numerous servants and soldiers, and even in death, he hoped to use his possessions to obtain a rank in the underworld. From an archaeological perspective, this was not entirely uncommon. During the Qin and Han periods, it was relatively common to write letters to Yama, the king of the underworld. Yet, Mr. Sui's brazen request for an official title in the afterlife was rare and highly intriguing. It reveals that the notions of power and ambition persisted beyond life itself, while also reflecting how the ancients balanced enjoyment, social status, and the pursuit of authority. The ancients said, "Death is the end," But Mr. Sui teaches us that even in the afterlife, one could still petition for a position of authority with a 2,000-year-old bamboo letter. Discoveries like this allow us to better understand the culture, customs, and everyday habits of ancient Chinese people, making history not dry or distant but vivid, relatable, and full of surprises. 131 hanging coffins, 1,200 years old, on a cliff in China. If you've ever studied burial customs in Asian countries, you're probably familiar with burying the dead underground or cremation. But what if I told you that in Asia, especially in China, there was a unique funeral practice where coffins were hung high in the air, suspended on sheer cliffs? Hard to believe, right? But this is a true story. In Hubei province, near the famous Three Gorges Dam in China, archaeologists discovered 131 hanging coffins precariously perched on a mountainside over 330 feet above the ground. They have remained there for more than 1,200 years, enduring rain, wind, storms, and the passage of time. This discovery stunned everyone, not just because of the dangerous height, but also because it remains a mystery how ancient people managed to place coffins weighing hundreds of pounds up there, long before modern machinery, cables, or scaffolding existed. Research shows that this hanging cemetery dates back to the Ming Dynasty, around 618 to 907 CE, and belonged to the Bo ethnic minority, an ancient community that once lived in southern China. The Bo had a unique burial custom called Xuanzang, meaning hanging burial, in which coffins were suspended on high cliffs. They believed that placing the deceased at great heights allowed their souls to ascend more easily, protected them from wild animals, and ensured eternal rest under the heavens. Scientists believe this custom not only reflected deep spiritual beliefs, but also symbolized profound respect for ancestors. For the Bo people, death was not the end, but a passage to another world, where the soul continued to watch over descendants. Hanging coffins was seen as a way of returning loved ones to the heavens, allowing them to live forever under nature's protection. Yet the greatest mystery remains. How did ancient people lift these heavy coffins hundreds of feet up sheer rock faces? Some hypotheses suggest the use of bamboo scaffolding or mountain trails combined with rope pulleys. Others propose that they may have carved rock niches first and suspended the coffins before burial. Of course, these are only theories. The exact method remains unsolved. Regardless of the answer, the ingenuity and skill of these ancient people continue to impress and amaze. It's worth noting that hanging burials were not limited to Hubei. This custom also appeared in Yunnan, Sichuan, Jiangxi, and Fujian provinces. Although the forms varied slightly, all reflected a strong belief in the immortality of the soul. Interestingly, Chinese folklore adds that ancient officials favored hanging burials because the Chinese word zhuanzang sounds similar to the phrase for promotion in rank. They believed that being given a hanging burial would bring success and promotion in life. Strange, amusing, and slightly eerie, isn't it? The discovery of 131 hanging coffins over 1,200 years old is not just a rare archaeological find. It opens a window into the spiritual world of ancient people, where death was seen as a continuation of life rather than an end. In their view, the deceased did not lie underground. They were elevated, close to the sky, where their souls could soar freely. So, imagine yourself standing before that cliff, looking at those ancient coffins clinging to the rocks in midair. What would you feel? Fear of death, or admiration for the intelligence and reverence of people more than a millennium ago? Personally, I think no matter how you feel, anyone hearing this story would shiver and exclaim, "The people of the past were truly extraordinary." Pure gold treasure and the intact remains of a mighty woman from the Ming Dynasty. When it comes to archaeological discoveries that shook the scientific world, the tomb filled with pure gold in Nanjing, China, is certainly among the most astonishing. This wasn't just an ancient treasure trove. It also concealed the tragic and heroic story of a powerful woman, known as the superwoman of the Ming Dynasty, Lady Mei. The story began when archaeologists excavated an ancient tomb deep underground in Nanjing. At first, they thought it was just a typical noble's tomb. But when the heavy stone door was opened, the light revealed a dazzling sight. Pure gold gleamed from every corner. Bracelets, hairpins, necklaces, perfume boxes, and even cosmetics containers were exquisitely crafted from solid gold. inlaid with jade and sparkling rubies. The next shock came after careful examination. The tomb was over 500 years old, dating back to the Ming Dynasty. 2 stone steles found inside revealed the owner's identity, Lady Mei, one of the 3 wives of the governor of Yunnan at the time. Records indicate she passed away in 1474 at the age of 45. Yet what impressed people most wasn't the wealth she possessed, but her courageous and extraordinary life. From the steles and surviving documents, historians learned that Lady Mei married at just 15 and remained devoted to her husband until his death. Tragedy struck again when her only son, Muzong, died at just 10 months old. But instead of succumbing to grief, Lady Mei rose stronger than ever. She took over the administration of Yunnan, a region notorious for unrest and frequent rebellions. Under her leadership, the region stabilized and prospered, the army became well organized, and the people lived in peace. Through her intelligence and rare decisiveness, Lady Mei became a symbol of female power and courage in ancient Chinese history. When Lady Mei passed away, the local people mourned deeply. They believed she deserved a grand tomb filled with treasures, not for display, but as a mark of respect for a woman who had devoted her life to this land. Her tomb was thus buried with countless pure gold artifacts, symbolizing her status and remarkable contributions. Despite centuries of erosion from time and underground water, the miracle is that Lady Mei's remains were perfectly preserved. When brought to the surface, her skeleton moved archaeologists deeply, as if she were still peacefully resting, watching the world rediscover her story. Today, experts continue to study her remains, jewelry, and tomb structure, hoping to uncover more secrets about the life of Lady Mei, a woman who defied conventions and dared to wield power in a strictly patriarchal era. If we say the 500-year-old Golden Tomb is more than just an archaeological sensation, but also an epic of a remarkable woman, it wouldn't be an exaggeration. Amid the glittering gold, we see not just royal luxury, but the radiance of courage, intelligence, and pride of an entire era. 2,000-year-old razor-sharp weapons in the tomb of Qin Shi Huang. When it comes to Qin Shi Huang, everyone knows he was the first emperor to unify China, leaving behind an enormous legacy not only in history but also beneath the ground. But few might expect that in his 2,000-year-old tomb, archaeologists discovered weapons still sharp enough to pierce armor, despite being buried for more than 2 millennia. Just hearing that gives you chills, doesn't it? After his death in 210 BCE, Qin Shi Huang was buried in a mausoleum located north of the Li Mountains in Shanxi Province, China. This wasn't an ordinary tomb. It was one of the most massive constructions in human history, built over 38 years with more than 700,000 laborers and skilled artisans involved. By the 1970s, when Chinese archaeologists first discovered the mausoleum complex, they were stunned. The underground area stretches 853 feet east to west and 525 feet north to south, covering more than 441,000 square feet, roughly the size of 5 international football fields combined. But what excited researchers the most wasn't the sheer scale. It was the weapons that remained intact, especially thousands of copper-tipped arrows that were unbelievably sharp. When brought to the surface, these arrows were still shiny, with edges so sharp they could cut your hand if you weren't careful. Amazingly, they could still pierce iron armor with a single shot, even after being buried for over 2,000 years. The obvious question arises, how could the Qin people craft such sophisticated weapons without modern technology? To find the answer, scientists magnified the arrowheads 80 times under a microscope. The results were astonishing. They discovered countless tiny scratches on the copper surface. These weren't random marks. They were polishing traces, designed to make the arrowheads smooth, razor-sharp, and highly reflective, enhancing their penetrative power. This was an extremely advanced manufacturing technique, rare for civilizations of that era. Additionally, experts found that the metal composition of the arrows was a perfect mix of copper and tin, which naturally resisted corrosion in the tomb's damp environment. This is why, after more than 2 centuries, they still retain their shape, sharpness, and durability. This not only demonstrates the Qin dynasty's peak metallurgical skill, but also reflects Qin Shi Huang's strategic vision in preparing for the afterlife. Weapons like these helped the Qin Empire conquer distant lands, unify the warring states, and inaugurate the first era of ancient China. His army, both the terracotta soldiers and real weapons, was crafted with near-perfect precision, showcasing a civilization that was powerful, disciplined, and almost fearsome in its organization. Today, as archaeologists continue to excavate this colossal mausoleum, they uncover not only traces of a glorious past, but also timeless technological mysteries. These 2,000-year-old razor-sharp arrows are more than just weapons. They are witnesses of history, telling the story of a mighty emperor who dreamed of conquering even immortality. Just imagine, if Qin Shi Huang had arrows that could pierce armor, what other weapons might he have invented to dominate the world? A dish that stayed delicious for 2,400 years in a tomb. Imagine one day you're walking past an ordinary middle school where students carry their backpacks to class every day. But then, right beneath that seemingly peaceful ground, you discover 400 ancient tombs densely packed underground. How would you feel? At this point, many might think this sounds absurd, like something out of a movie. But no, this isn't a scene from an archaeological adventure film. It's a real event that happened in 2014 at Xinjiang Middle School in Hubei Province, China. At that time, the school was expanding its campus, and a construction team accidentally dug into a massive tomb complex containing over 400 graves from different periods of Chinese history. Some tombs dated back to the Warring States period, while others were from the Tang and Song dynasties. Hundreds of years of history buried beneath the very ground where students played and ran every day. What shocked archaeologists was not just the number of tombs, but their extraordinary state of preservation and immense cultural value. Among the complex, one tomb stood out, a Warring States-era tomb from the Chu state, which contained the most complete set of burial objects ever unearthed. When the tomb was opened, experts felt as if they had stepped into a miniature weapons museum, with bows, arrows, swords, armor, and even ancient guns, all intricately crafted, showing that the tomb's occupant was no ordinary person. Based on the quantity and nature of the weapons, experts reasonably hypothesized that this could be the resting place of a Chu general, someone who had fought many battles and left a mark on history. But the discovery didn't stop there. As the excavation continued, archaeologists uncovered more valuable artifacts, including ancient wine bottles, silk paintings, and metal cauldrons. Evidence that this was not just a military tomb, but also a repository of the cultural and daily life of the noble class of that era. However, what astonished the excavation team the most wasn't the weapons or jewelry. It was a dish. 13 salted fish, carefully placed in boxes right above the coffin. At first, due to their unusual wrapping and color, experts mistook them for ancient textiles. But upon closer inspection, they realized these were salted fish. Amazingly, the fish remained fully intact, not decomposed at all, despite being buried underground for over 2,400 years. Salted fish, which under ideal conditions can only last about 6 months, had survived for millennia in a damp, decay-prone environment, an astonishing feat. This is arguably one of the most unique discoveries in the history of archaeology. No one could have imagined that ancient salting techniques could achieve such extraordinary preservation, a mystery that continues to puzzle scientists to this day. Since their unveiling, these miraculous boxes of salted fish have become a highlight of artifact exhibitions, attracting thousands of visitors and even going viral on social media. Chinese netizens humorously commented, "If salted fish can last 2,400 years, it must be top quality." What about you? Would you like to see these 2,400-year-old salted fish still perfectly preserved with your own eyes? Share your thoughts by leaving a comment below this video. A 2,200-year-old unequaled treasure that stunned archaeologists. Have you ever imagined that just by digging a few feet into the ground, you could uncover a treasure spanning over 2,000 years of history? It sounds like a scene from a historical drama, right? But in fact, it really happened in Changsha, Hunan Province, China, where archaeologists recently discovered a series of artifacts stretching from the Qin Dynasty all the way to the Qing Dynasty, leaving researchers astonished. This is truly an unparalleled treasure in the history of Chinese archaeology. It all began when the Archaeological Institute of the Chinese Academy of Social Sciences started excavating at the Xiaoyang archaeological site, an area that had seemingly slept for thousands of years. But as soon as the first layer of soil was removed, over 200 ancient bamboo slips emerged from a deep well. Analysis revealed that they dated back to the Qin Dynasty, 221 to 206 BCE, and the Han Dynasty, 206 BCE to 222 CE. These bamboo slips were the administrative records of the ancient government. In modern terms, they were essentially the state documents of that era. Each slip bore seal script, a distinctive ancient writing style used for engraving seals, decorating, or recording confidential information. This indicates that the area had once been an important administrative center of the ancient empire, storing countless official documents, imperial orders, and critical governmental records. But the surprises didn't stop there. As the team expanded the excavation area, they uncovered the foundations of a massive ancient building made of baked clay and bricks, typical of the Western Han period. The structure measured about 92 by 59 feet, likely belonging to a high-ranking official or powerful noble in the region. Even from just the foundation, archaeologists could imagine a grand structure where important court sessions or official record-keeping once took place. The deeper they dug, the more history was revealed. Beside the Han-era site, the team discovered another ancient well, later identified as belonging to the Song and Yuan dynasties. Inside this well were numerous artifacts made of ceramics, bronze, and brass, items reflecting the daily life and prosperous trade of people at the time. There were even finely crafted household objects such as vases, teapots, bowls, and plates, indicating that this was once a bustling residential area or a major commercial center. Even more remarkable, archaeologists uncovered a cache of stone cannonballs, weapons believed to have been fired by Yuan troops during their battles with the Southern Song. This discovery not only carries historical value, but also confirms that Xiaoyang witnessed cycles of both prosperity and conflict. What astonishes everyone most is that within a single area, evidence of at least 6 different dynasties has been found, ranging from the warring states to the Han dynasty states, Qin, Han, Song, Yuan, Ming, to Qing. Every layer of soil, each piece of pottery, and every bamboo slip is like a living page of history, telling the story of the rise, fall, and resurgence of China's ancient dynasties. To call this merely a routine excavation would be a serious understatement. The discoveries here are not just artifacts, they are living proof of how advanced the administration, culture, and artistry of ancient China had become. Just imagine, after more than 2,200 years, bamboo slips, bricks, and bronze pieces have survived. Truly a miracle of time, or perhaps a message from the past reaching us today. Perhaps this is why people call this site an unequaled treasure, not just for its material value, but because it preserves the very soul of a millennium of Chinese history. The time-traveling cup, 2,000 years in an ancient Chinese tomb. The ancients often said, "Live with the world, depart with treasures," meaning that when people leave this mortal realm, they still wish to take their most valuable possessions with them. Throughout history, magnificent tombs filled with countless treasures have vividly embodied this idea. But one discovery in China left archaeologists completely stunned. A glass cup that looked like it could have been made yesterday, lying undisturbed in a tomb over 2,000 years old. Just hearing that gives you chills, doesn't it? This extraordinary story began in October 1990 in Xitang Village, Banshan Town, Hangzhou City, Zhejiang Province, China. At the time, a group of brick factory workers was digging when they stumbled upon some unusual pits. Suspecting there might be ancient relics below, they immediately reported it to the local cultural heritage authorities. Soon after, archaeologists arrived to investigate, and their suspicions were confirmed. Beneath the soil lay an ancient tomb from the Warring States period, around the 3rd century BCE, over 2,200 years ago. Inside the tomb, experts discovered a collection of rare burial items, including jade, gemstones, and finely crafted artifacts, indicating the tomb's owner was likely a noble or high-ranking official. Unfortunately, the tomb had been looted earlier. So many key clues had been lost, making it extremely difficult to determine the identity of the occupant. Yet amid the misfortune came a remarkable find. While carefully collecting artifacts, the experts' attention was drawn to a sparkling object. At first, they thought it was just a modern glass cup, perhaps left behind by tomb robbers. But upon closer inspection, something seemed unusual. When the analysis results were finally revealed, the entire Chinese archaeological community was shaken. The cup was over 2,000 years old, dating back to the Warring States period. The cup was made from a single piece of natural crystal, standing about 6.1 inches tall, with a mouth diameter of 3.1 inches and a base of 2.1 inches. Astonishingly, even after more than 2 millennia underground, its surface remained smooth, transparent, and gleaming with an amber gold shimmer. There were no intricate patterns, yet the craftsmanship alone conveyed a surreal level of precision. From this discovery arose 3 major questions that have puzzled experts for years. First, the mystery of how it was made. How could artisans over 2,000 years ago hollow out a solid crystal block into a perfect cup without modern machinery or precise grinding tools? Some suggest they may have used techniques similar to jade carving, but no one has ever confirmed the exact method. Second, the mystery of the polish. Both the inside and outside surfaces of the cup shine like mirrors. Polishing the exterior is one thing, but achieving such perfection on the interior, a narrow, hard-to-reach space, is a colossal challenge. How did the ancients manage this without modern tools? Third, the mystery of the material. Geologists note that China does not have natural crystal deposits of the high purity used for this cup. This has led to speculation that the crystal might have been imported from abroad or sourced from a mine that has long since been depleted. This only adds to the cup's mystery and value. Today, this Warring States crystal cup is recognized as a national treasure and is proudly displayed at the Hangzhou Museum. It is considered a unique masterpiece, demonstrating the extraordinary craftsmanship of ancient artisans. So much so that in 2002, the Chinese government included it on the list of artifacts strictly prohibited from being exhibited abroad, fearing that if it were lost, humanity might never be able to recreate anything similar again. Many jokingly call it the time-traveling cup, as it looks like a modern object sent back into the past. And I must admit, I think so too. Do you feel the same way I do? The mysterious stone spheres of Xinjiang that challenge scientists' understanding. Some stories seem like they belong only in science fiction films, but they actually happen in real life. One such story is the discovery of thousands of unusual stone spheres on Beidap Mountain in Xinjiang province, China, which has puzzled scientists for decades without a satisfactory explanation. The story began in 1979 during what seemed to be a routine geological survey. A group of hydrology experts was studying the stratigraphic structure of Beidap Mountain when they stumbled upon an extraordinary sight. Thousands of smooth, perfectly round stone spheres scattered across the mountainside, ranging in size from as small as a ping-pong ball to enormous spheres over 6.5 feet in diameter. At first glance, anyone would assume these were just random rocks, but as the researchers approached, they realized that the spheres were not scattered haphazardly. They appeared to be arranged according to a specific pattern, as if a human hand or some other force had designed their placement. Particularly striking were a few spheres that seemed to rise like arms out of the ground, looking from a distance like petrified creatures, giving many people goosebumps. Curious about this strange phenomenon, the experts decided to dig into the ground and cut open several spheres to see what was inside. The results were even more astonishing. The spheres were filled with plant fossils and ancient types of rock. This indicated that they were extremely old, potentially millions of years in age. The pressing questions were, why are they such perfect spheres? And why do they appear concentrated in a single area? To find answers, scientists began proposing a range of hypotheses. The first hypothesis suggested a natural origin, possibly formed through weathering, mineral deposition, or precipitation in a unique geological environment. Some geologists even proposed that they might be concretion spheres, formed by minerals gradually accumulating around a solid core underground over millions of years, and later exposed through erosion. However, the highly ordered arrangement of the spheres raised doubts, as it did not resemble typical natural randomness. This detail sparked more speculative theories. An independent research group suggested that the spheres might be linked to ancient ritual practices, possibly used to seal spirits or symbolize divine power. But the speculation did not stop there. A bolder hypothesis, which has divided the scientific community, asks, could these be remnants of extraterrestrial activity? Beidap Mountain has a long history of reported UFO sightings. Some believe the spheres could be devices or markers left by extraterrestrial visitors who came to our planet thousands of years ago. Of course, these ideas remain speculative. To this day, there is no concrete evidence supporting any of the above hypotheses. After decades of study, scientists still cannot determine the true origin of these thousands of mysterious stone spheres. They may simply be a miraculous product of nature, or they could be man-made relics created for a purpose that modern humans cannot yet comprehend. Regardless, the discovery at Beidap Mountain remains one of China's most peculiar archaeological mysteries, challenging the limits of our understanding of the Earth and ancient history. Today, the mountain stands silent yet enigmatic, where the stone spheres lie quietly as if guarding a vast secret of the universe. Perhaps only with further advancements in technology will we finally uncover the answer to the question, who, or what, created these strange stone spheres in the remote deserts of Xinjiang. 200,000-year-old handprints on the Tibetan Plateau. On the Qinghai Tibet Plateau in China, where icy winds blow year-round and the land is barren and rocky, a discovery has shaken the world of archaeology. In 2018, while surveying the Pangong Ko area of this plateau, researchers stumbled upon handprints and footprints etched into stone, looking as if they had been left by two children playing on the lakeshore hundreds of thousands of years ago. At first glance, one might assume they were just random marks carved by wind and rain. But when the team conducted precise measurements, they quickly realized they were facing a discovery that could change our understanding of the origins of human art. Using modern geological dating methods, they determined that these handprints and footprints date back between 169,000 and 226,000 years, long before Homo sapiens, modern humans, had fully emerged. The two footprints differ in size. One measures about 6.9 inches long, likely belonging to a child around 7 years old, while the other measures 8 inches, probably made by a child approximately 12 years old. Scientists believe the harsh climate of the Tibetan Plateau helped preserve these imprints almost perfectly, as if time itself had frozen on the rock. Remarkably, in that pristine wilderness, the small handprints remained visible down to the tiniest details, as if someone had just pressed them there a few days ago. For this reason, this discovery is more than a simple archaeological trace. It may represent the world's oldest known artwork. Clearly, etching or pressing a hand into stone is not a random act. It reflects creativity, expression, and the desire to leave a mark, behaviors previously thought to have appeared only tens of thousands of years ago. Yet the biggest question that continues to puzzle researchers is, who were these two children? To which branch of humanity did they belong? One notable hypothesis suggests they may have been Denisovans, an ancient human species that lived alongside Neanderthals, widely spread across Asia and particularly in the Tibetan region. If true, these handprints provide direct evidence that Denisovans not only lived but also created art at altitudes above 13,000 feet, where even modern humans struggle to survive. This discovery also raises the possibility that ancient human groups interacted, interbred, and shared cultural behaviors, contributing to the genetic diversity and intelligence of today's humanity. So far, no one can definitively identify these two prehistoric child artists. But one thing is certain: these handprints and footprints are not just biological traces, they are witnesses to a moment of creativity, curiosity, and simple joy, qualities that have accompanied humans since the dawn of history. In a land where the wind bites like ice, where mountains roll endlessly, and time seems to stand still, these tiny handprints remain, quietly telling the story of the origins of art, memory, and humanity itself. And perhaps, somewhere beneath the layers of soil and stone on the Tibetan Plateau, there are still other traces of smiles, footsteps, and innocent games that once lit up a distant prehistoric world, waiting for us to discover them. The 5-year-old bride mummy in a 1,700-year-old tomb in China. Have you ever imagined a scene where a little girl, only 5 years old, wears a bright red wedding dress adorned with gold and silver, lying buried underground for over 1,000 years? Just thinking about it sends chills down your spine, right? But this is not fiction. It's a real discovery that shocked the Chinese archaeological world in 2003. Here's the story. When archaeologists excavated the ancient residence of Wang Xiji, a famous calligrapher of the Eastern Ming Dynasty in China, they accidentally uncovered a massive tomb deep underground. At first, everyone assumed it was simply part of a noble family's burial complex. But when they opened the coffin, the scene inside left them speechless. 3 tiny skeletons, 2 boys and a girl. Initial examinations revealed that the 2 boys had died young from severe illnesses. But the figure that haunted everyone most was the 5-year-old girl, dressed in a red bridal gown embroidered with gold and silver threads, wearing a phoenix crown and adorned with jade bracelets. Everything about her attire was as elaborate as a real wedding, except it all took place in a tomb. This tomb was dated to more than 1,700 years ago, from the Eastern Jin period, immediately drawing the attention of scholars. After months of investigation, the identities of the 2 boys were confirmed. They were the son and grandson of Emperor Sima Rui, the first emperor of the Eastern Jin Dynasty. But the girl's identity remained haunting. She had no name in any historical records, no genealogy, no known relatives. It was as if she had been erased from history, leaving only her body in the posture of a royal bride. Archaeologists began reviewing ancient texts, and the answer they uncovered sent chills down everyone's spines. The 5-year-old girl was a victim of the Ming custom, a haunting ancient Chinese practice. According to this belief, those who died unmarried would have lonely souls, unable to join their ancestors in the afterlife, and even future generations could not offer ancestral rites. To avoid cold graves, people developed the practice of posthumous marriage, known as Ming Hun, in which the deceased would be married to another dead person. In this case, the poor 5-year-old girl was chosen as a ghost bride for the prince, son of Emperor Jin Yuan, who had died very young. Some hypotheses even suggest that she may have been buried alive to follow her husband into the afterlife, completing the ritual. Just imagining this is chilling. What seems to have been a ritual to comfort the deceased soul was in reality a tragic fate for an innocent child. In the silent underground, with dim torchlight and chanting echoing through the night, a tiny girl in a deep red bridal gown was placed next to the remains of a royal boy. Everything done to satisfy the superstitions of the time. Just thinking about it sends shivers down anyone's spine. The oldest section of the Great Wall, uncovering a 3,000-year-old heritage beneath Shandong. Hidden for millennia beneath layers of red soil on the northern edge of Guangli village in Shandong province, an ancient segment of the Great Wall, almost forgotten, has recently been unearthed by archaeologists, revealing a truth that has stunned researchers. The Great Wall did not begin with Emperor Qin Shi Huang, as widely believed. In fact, this newly discovered section predates previous estimates by more than 300 years, possibly dating back to the late Western Zhou period, around the 8th century BCE. This colossal ancient structure, lying silent through countless generations, has now finally spoken, serving as a reminder that history still holds many secrets waiting to be decoded. The large-scale excavation, conducted from mid-May to late December 2024, under the leadership of the Shandong Provincial Institute of Archaeology and Cultural Heritage, marks a turning point. For the first time in many years, a proactive research campaign focused on this ancient wall has been carried out. Covering an area of approximately 11,840 square feet, the discoveries far exceeded expectations. Rather than isolated fragments, the team uncovered a near-intact segment, believed to be the first part of the Great Wall built during the Qi state, a powerful force of the Eastern Zhou period. Stretching over 400 miles from Chongqing in the west to Qingdao in the east, this is the oldest and longest section of the entire Great Wall system. What astonished archaeologists was not just the size or location of the structure, but the precision in dating it and the methodology the team employed. Moving beyond mere speculation or ancient texts, they applied multiple modern techniques: artifact analysis, study of plant stones, soil sampling, and advanced dating methods such as optically stimulated luminescence (OSL) and carbon-14 dating. These technologies produced an almost indisputable timeline, confirming that this wall segment originated during the turbulent early spring and autumn period, a time when regional powers constantly competed for authority, territory, and influence. The existence of the Qi Wall, now recognized by UNESCO as a World Heritage Site, was not merely a part of the ancient state's defense strategy. It was also a declaration of territorial boundaries, a political demarcation, and a symbol of power that the Qi state sought to assert over neighboring forces. These seemingly endless walls etch the landscape, representing a period when life, death, war, and authority intersected every day. Originally about 33 feet wide at the base during the Western Zhou, later expanding to over 100 feet in the Warring States period, the Qi Wall was not merely an architectural feat. It demonstrated the remarkable evolution of construction techniques and strategic thinking of a long-lost dynasty. The construction climaxed under King Xuan of Qi, who ruled from 350 to 301 BCE. Under his direction, the wall was upgraded to perfection with finely packed yellow earth compressed using metal hammers, a technique astonishing for that era. The marvel did not stop at architecture. Within the layers of soil and stone that protected the wall, archaeologists discovered remnants of an ancient settlement. Broken pottery, production tools, and stored food reveal a vibrant world beneath the wall, where people lived, worked, and simultaneously safeguarded the most important defensive line of their state. What was unearthed is not merely the trace of a wall, but the physical memory of an entire civilization. Each compressed earth layer, pottery shard, and fragment of ash serves as a witness to a period of history still being written. This discovery of the oldest Great Wall segment not only expands our understanding of its origins, but also offers a fresh perspective on the complex geopolitical landscape of ancient China, where power, conflict, and technical ingenuity converge to create one of humanity's most magnificent constructions. Above all, it reminds us that the deeper we dig into the earth, the more layers of truth are waiting to be revealed. You see, each archaeological discovery we've just explored serves as a reminder that history still holds countless mysteries, waiting for those curious and patient enough to unravel them. From the 5-year-old bride mummy, the hanging coffins on cliff faces, to the pure gold treasures of powerful women, all of these tell not only stories of power, beliefs, and the lives of people long ago, but also raise questions that remain unanswered. And perhaps this is what makes archaeology so fascinating. Every artifact, every trace, is a living piece of the past, waiting for us to uncover it. What do you think about today's topic? Don't hesitate to share your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell to be the first to watch the newest videos. For now, goodbye and see you next time.